All right, everyone, welcome to Walking Out Your Purpose with yours truly, Alicia Smith. I am so excited. We are kicking off 2021 with a special guest. As you've heard on the last podcast, we've been doing this series called A Peek into Purpose, and I've been interviewing different people all about their path, their walk, their purpose, and so that you can be inspired and encouraged to move into action for whatever it is that God has called you to be. I want you to hear different stories because we all have a different walk, but we all have the same goal in mind, which is to always give glory to God. So today I'm super, super excited. I could just jump out my chair because I have a very, very good friend and a powerful, powerful woman of God, so talented, probably has 50 jobs. And so I want you all to hear from her and her story. And actually, I met Shilondra, who you're going to hear from. She was my past neighbor, and we used to walk together. So it's so funny that this is called Walking Out Your Purpose, because I felt like we walked every day and we walked closer into our purpose and, of course, closer into being healthy. So I'm excited for you all to hear from her. And we're just going to talk about her story and for you to get a little insight into that. So, Miss Shilondra, welcome to the show, honey.
Girl, I am so excited. Welcome to 2021.
Yes.
I am on fire because we are behind 2020.
Yes,
It's on
absolutely. Absolutely. And we are looking forward to a prosperous, purposeful, and productive 2021.
Boom. Yes, name those keys, honey. Yes, 1, 3, and 4. Yes, we are ready for it. Yes, we are.
And for those of you that are listening to the podcast, we're also doing this via Zoom. So I'm just excited to just see all our antics back and forth. So Shilondra, why don't you start with telling us a little bit about who you are, what you're all about, and maybe, how would you define your purpose?
I don't know. That's a whole mouthful in this 2021, let me just tell you. But I am just a regular, smegular kind of person, girl. Your girl
regular Shilondra people.
Just your girl next door. I am my children's mother and my husband's wife. That is really who I am. And I think my purpose really is just about encouraging people. I think that we go through life really trying to understand who we are, but I know that I'm here for everybody else. And I know that I'm an exalter, and I know that my purpose is just to lift up everybody and find that thing that's in each and every person that comes across me. We have something that lies dormant in our lives. And I think that it is just my goal to figure out what it is, push it, so that you can kind of experience the joy that God ultimately has for us.
Awesome. I love it. And I would concur. You are definitely an encourager. You've definitely encouraged me over the years. And I'm so inspired by, again, all the things that you are to everybody. I mean, literally, you are just amazing and have been made an impact on me, my family. I've gotten some things in order because of our walks and all that stuff. So, I want to start with maybe, how did you discover your passion for education? Because I know that that's something that's very important to you as well. So when did you discover that?
So I believe that I think this is kind of like a twofold question. One, I discovered my passion with education simply probably because of me and the type of learner that I am. And I think that I was looked over and passed over, and I didn't understand who I was until I went to college. And so I just wanted to make sure that those kids who are often overlooked, or the ones that are quiet, the ones who kind of struggle, the ones who think a little bit differently, those are my ideal students. And so I try to find that in everybody. And so I think it started when I was teaching. And I think as a teacher, you have curriculum and you have this guideline of exactly or a role that you need to play, or like this mantra of what the perfect teacher is. But for me, I've always been passionate about boys, because I think that most times we teach the girls because they make it easy. They always answer questions. It's just kind of easy. But I think that if you curve your curriculum, if you curve your subject to things that boys are interested in, I think that's where you really get the spark. And sometimes boys don't know how to communicate the way that girls do. And I think that boys just kind of inspire me. So I think that that's where my passion lies. And it was two young men that I taught that really showed me that you can inadvertently overlook boys and really don't pull out their potential. And I think that a lot of things are not, we don't give enough credence to boys, and boys kind of just fall off the track. And so my commitment really has been to boys, which is why I love Isaiah so.
I literally was sitting here and I'm like, this makes so much sense now because she is obsessed.
Oh my God,
Obsessed.
I love boys. I really,
yes, you all, for those listening, she is obsessed in a good way, obviously, with our firstborn Isaiah. At the time, we hadn't had Elijah when we were neighbors, and I love it. She would be like, okay, what are we doing with him for this, and this? Okay, the holiday. She's like, okay, are we building this? Are we
making cookies?
Are we dyeing eggs for Easter? Are we, what are we doing? And she's all about connecting and making sure that, to your point, that they have a voice. Wow, it makes so much sense now. I love it. Yeah. So let's talk about real quick the fact that you have raised two phenomenal children. Like, I mean, a successful daughter, graduated from college, a son that's in college that was Mr. Freshman. Hello.
Oh my God.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how did you, just rearing children, and, you can gloat a little bit on your children, and how did you balance, a working mom and raising children?
So for starters, I think that my kids are just an extension of me, and I always let them know that, one, you're not better than anybody else, and two, you're just regular. And the more that you give, I think the most important thing, and I know that I'm kind of all over the place, the thing that I'm most proud of, Alicia, is that my husband and I showed our kids, or explained to our kids, or helped our kids realize their relationship with God very early on.
Yeah.
And I think out of everything that they've ever accomplished, that's the most important thing to me, because I think that for me, I really didn't recognize who God was for me until I was in college, right? Mm-hmm. But for them, and I think, for example, we were driving, and there was a homeless man outside the car, and my son had just gotten $2, and he's like, "Mom, can we please give him $2?" And of course, I was like, boy, I don't want to open the door and give this man no money. But he was like, "Mom, can I please?" So I said, okay, fine. So he gave them his last $2. And then I think we went to Marshall's. And my son opened the door for me. And there was this young man. He had a full grill, dreads. And so, of course, people would stereotype him. And he said, "Hey, legit." And my son said yes. And he was like, "Here's $20. I see you representing for, the OGs. You held the door open for your mom." Wow. So, but in that instant, I told my son, I said, do you understand why you got those $20? I said, because you gave your last to this man who, that was in your heart to do it. Even though I didn't want you to. I did not want you to give those $2, but you felt in your heart to do it. Yeah. And he did. And I said, this is the reward. And I think for that is how we can connect how God works with our kids, because we can show them how it works. And so from that, I think that it has completely transformed his life, and really mine too. And so I think just with rearing kids, let me just back up a little bit for my daughter. So yes, my daughter has graduated from college, and she's now working. But can I tell you that she struggled in school, and I want to say she struggled maybe from kindergarten throughout school. But I knew that she just think differently. It was just something different, that the way that and it wasn't dyslexia. It wasn't any of that. But I paid attention. And I think as parents, we have to pay attention to our kids, and I think that we supplement school. School doesn't supplement us. So education should be primary in the home. And so, but I think for my son, I really didn't do a really good job for him. I guess God knew, because I really didn't have to help him as much, because I gave everything to her. And so to the point where I understood how she learned so much, Alicia, we were, when she had spelling words, right? We would do like 3 words in the bathroom, and we would learn 3 words in the kitchen and 3 words in the garage, because when she would be able to recall it, she would be able to recall where she was, and it would be easier for her to learn. We did all sorts of things just to make life super easy and learning fun. And I think that that's how she got through college, because she learned how she learned. And I think sometimes we put so much emphasis on somebody else teaching our kids how to learn and what to do. And it really is our responsibility, because they came from us. So you should know what your child needs.
Mercy.
Right?
I love that. And I think the first lesson where you talked about your son, right? First of all, that's a beautiful story. And, God will always bless us when we do what's right, and that's a beautiful lesson to teach our children. And I think, like you said, for your daughter, right, it's paying attention. And I think that that's key, especially with millennial parents. And I'm one of them, right? Because it's so easy to just say, here's a tablet, go sit down somewhere. I got stuff to do, right? And so it's so important to pay attention to them and to get in the ground. And we've had to do that in 2020 because we became teachers. Right. And so I know a whole lot more about Isaiah and how he learns and everything now than I did before. And so God, there's a lesson in everything. And even with 2020 being bad or having its, challenges, it's taught us. So hopefully if we were, our eyes were open, it's taught us so much about ourselves, about our relationship with God, about our connections with people, about our children, just so many things. So I love that you've taken that passion that you have for other children, and you've also instilled that in your own children. And again, they are successful people, and we thank God for that. So, all right. So tell me about what it is that you're doing today, because you're still impacting children and working with kids. So tell us about that opportunity and maybe how you found yourself in that.
Oh my gosh. So I can tell you, so today I am the senior director for Career Bound for the Boys and Girls Club. And I think that this is just a continuum of all the things that I've done. I think it's just my evolution, because it started, in preschool and all the way to post-secondary opportunities for young people. And I think that this is just a perfect fit for me. Do you know, though, there is a gap between the time that young people finish high school and then enter the workplace, whether it's you've gone off to college, or you went to the service, or you went straight to the workforce. There is somewhat of a gap. And the gap is these kids, they really don't know how to engage with each other. They don't know how to engage in the workplace. They really don't understand work culture. They don't understand kind of like different etiquettes. And I think that there is a missing piece that at some point we have to figure out how to make that connection, but they can't do it because we really don't have mentors. Now, mentors in the regular sense of the word is, pairing a young person with an older person, and the older person, right, pouring in. But these young people require a little bit more than what we would traditionally think as mentoring. So I am a firm believer in reverse mentoring. Reverse mentoring is, the young people really bringing something to the table, and the older person bringing something, or the seasoned person, because I'm an older person, the seasoned person bringing something to the table. And then there's kind of like a meeting ground, because let me tell you something, young people now have lost faith, Alicia, in us, and because we have allowed them to be killed in the second safest place, and that's in schools. Wow. And so now they are really deciding that we're going to create our own table. And if you want to, you can come to the table. But this is kind of how we think, because we know the answers, and we know that you know the answers, but you're too busy politicizing and making other people feel comfortable. So young people are really moving in a totally different dynamic. And I think that if we don't tune in our ears and really bring a seat to the table or invite them to our table, we're going to miss it. Yeah. And there's certainly other future. So anyway, my work now is really trying to create opportunities for young people to have some sort of mentorship, but that looks reverse. I can learn from you and you can learn from me. It's not just push, or top down. It's kind of like medium.
I love that. I love reverse mentoring. That is amazing, because all of us can teach each other things. And I think it's so important that we continue to give Gen Z, I guess it is now. I feel old now, I'm millennial. So, but the Gen Z, to give them a voice. People just want to be heard. They want to feel valued. They want you to know that they are smart. They do know things. Of course, there are things that they don't know. We still have things that we don't know, right? So, you know, we're forever in a learning cycle. So I love that. And I'm excited about the work that you're doing with the Boys and Girls Club. It's such a great organization. And for those that have not had a chance to learn about the Boys and Girls Club, I think obviously you can Google it. It's a great organization to get involved with. So that's awesome. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about entrepreneurship, because you've dabbled in that as well. And tell us how, you know, what did you do as far as your entrepreneurship, and how did you fall into that opportunity? And maybe what lessons did you learn about
Oh my God, what kind of lessons? So let me tell you. So I remember this is very early on. I think Sydney was maybe 2 or 3 years old, and she had all this hair. I really didn't know. I think everything about Sydney was amplified. Like, she had big hair, and her features were really big and bold, and so I just really didn't know what to do with this little person. And I wrote a book, but the book was more about her combing her hair. So I wrote this little song on sticky notes. Okay. And so I decided that I would turn it into a book. And so I tried, you know, and this was long before there was, you know, so many resources on the internet at this point. I mean, this is right at the very, very beginning. So I really didn't know. And of course, I mean, I was a teacher. So anyway, wrote this book. It was on sticky notes, and someone told me, oh, you need to get an agent. Got an agent, sent everything to the agent. The agent said, okay, this book is not sellable. And I was just completely heartbroken. So I decided, well, I was thinking, I was like, okay, well, this is a hair book, so maybe I should connect with somebody in the hair business. So let me tell you. So this is when I had my son. I had him on my lap, and he was crying. And so I just decided, let me just call Proline. So Proline is a maker of Just For Me. And so he's crying on the phone, and I'm like, yeah, may I talk to the person who is, you know, the brand manager for Just For Me? So she said, okay, no problem. So the young lady got on the phone. I was like, hey, listen, I have a book. It wasn't a book yet. I have a book that I think would be in line with, you know, your Just For Me hair care product. And anyway, I could sell your book into schools and everywhere else, because it's sitting there in the, you know, in the beauty supply stores collecting dust, and I can get it out of. And she was like, okay, I'll meet you in Miami. And I mean, it's just, I can't make this stuff up. So I was like, okay, met the lady in Miami, because she was doing a photo shoot, and she's like, oh, I think it's a wonderful thing, and I need 5,000 copies. And so I said, okay, 5,000 copies. Now, Alicia, it was, remember, I had told you it was on sticky notes.
Sticky notes. You know? Okay.
But wait, at the same time, she was like, well, you know, if you have your own publishing company and you're publishing books, she's like, well, we have our in-house, you know, teen magazine. So I would like for your press to publish our teen magazine. I was like, oh, well, I don't know. You know, we're a very small press. I don't think we can do it. She's like, I don't know, put in a bid. So girl, on the way home, my mind is blown, because one, I don't have a book. It's just on sticky notes. And two, my small press consists of me and my computer. So I didn't know, but I'm telling you, God just kind of worked it out. And I published, you know, 5,000 copies of the book. We did three, what do you call it? What do you call the magazine things? Episodes. No, it's not episodes. What do you call it, Alicia?
Editions, or?
What do you call it? Anyway, it's not missions. I'm telling you, my mind is gone. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
3 issues.
Issues. Okay.
3 issues. 3 issues. Mm-hmm. 3 issues magazine. And that was the most money I made in like 4 months. But I think that what I know to be true is that I'm not smart enough to come up with ideas. And I learned very early on to trust what God gives me.
Yeah.
and I don't taint it with doubt. I don't taint it with validation from other people. I just go.
Right.
And every time I've done that, he has absolutely blessed me. Absolutely. So I attribute all of that to him.
Wow. Let me tell you what I heard from that story. Courage.
Oh.
I heard be bold, right? You picking up phones and calling folks and saying, may I speak to this person and that person? I mean, the average person, this is why you're above regular. The average person is not going to do that, right?
Girl, fine babysitting in your lap, okay?
So boldness, courage, right? Faith. I mean, all up and through there. Belief in yourself. Obviously in God, of course, and him giving you the talent, but belief in yourself enough to say, okay, we can get this done with God, right? We can get this done, right? I have a small press and all that. So I love that story, and I love the lessons that come forward. And it's for all of you, especially as we are starting 2021. It's the top of the year. Believe in yourself, trust God, and get to moving. Like it can't get any simpler than that. And that's a great example. And even though that may have been, some years ago, right? It's continued to work in your life in multiple, multiple areas and facets. That's such a beautiful story. So let us wrap up, because we talked about your passion for education and all of this. I think the common theme is education. It's in everything that you've done. It's in your career. It's in your raising your children. It's in the book that you started, right? It is just a passion for encouraging and educating others. And so as we wrap up and we talk about, again, 2021 and this being, a new year, and us entering it correctly and entering it with the right attitude, what words of encouragement would you have for our listeners and our viewers for the year?
So for me is, just never forget who you are and your own ability. And I believe that we're all here for a reason, and that reason is certainly not for us. It's for someone else.
Right.
And I think in this season, we've all experienced how we don't have the answers. We don't know how things are going to get done. But what we do know is that God will always provide provision.
Yeah.
And so you can plan as much as you want to, but just be flexible in this season. And whatever he gives you, trust it and then do it.
Absolutely. You all have heard it from the best, Shilondra Sheppard.
So I want to say to you, because I know that you're wrapping me up, but let me just tell all of the listeners. Listen, I don't know if you all will, Google or follow her on any of her social media platforms. But I tell you what, she is a millennial with a old school kind of sense of value. One, she is rooted in everything that she does. And two, she's the most consistent person I've ever met. And I know that we throw that word around, but when I tell you, consistent in her finances, consistent in her marriage, consistent in her anything that she's a part of, she gives 110%. And so, Alicia, I'm going to tell you that I am so incredibly proud of just who you are.
Thank you.
As a woman, as a wife, as a mother, as somebody's sorrow, and as and as a daughter. Your commitment to just not being perfect, but just being perfect for you, and just really, really being conscientious and talking about courage. Girl, you have courage beyond approach. And let me just tell you that this is a little powerhouse, not just in the Word of God and being a phenomenal wife, but she is a powerhouse professionally. So you don't get any better than that. So I am very, very proud of all the work that you're doing. This podcast is just going to take off. God has his hand on you.
I received it. Thank you.
Want you to, and listen, I love Isaiah. And as soon as Corona is over, I'm telling you, listen, me and the baby, we just got to reconvene. And I just need to go all the way back to when I put him. Oh, by the way, I put him in her belly. I spoke this before she left me, and the baby came and I was nowhere around. So I got to reconvene.
Yes. Yes, and he's ready for you because he is a handful. We love him, and but he's a handful. Praise God. So thank you so much.
A wonderful husband, a wonderful praying husband. I love him, and I miss you all so much. And I told her, I was like, I know that this is not a catch up on the life because you got me on the schedule. So you see, every time I try to interject, she's like, okay, we need to wrap up. So anyway, I love you and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and I want to come back. I want to come back too.
We would love to have you come back. Thank you. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us today. I know that you got something from this, so be blessed.